Hello and welcome to my channel today, Boo Snakes and More. Today we're going to be talking about daylight savings time, so please like this video and subscribe to the channel. And for more videos like this, watch my other house channel, A&A Snakes and Stuff, my youngest son's channel, Henny's Toys and Games, or my oldest son's channel, Little Chris 10. Now let's dive into the video. In short time, most Americans will lose an hour of sleep as our clocks jump forward to daylight savings time. But what if the clocks didn't change? Most federal and state efforts to end the observance of seasonal daylight savings time have been focused on locking the clocks on permanent daylight savings time. That would mean bringing ahead an hour in March and not falling back an hour in November. However, some states are looking to remain on permanent standard time, a move sleep and health experts largely agree with. Unlike permanent daylight savings time, there are already parts of the U.S. observing permanent standard time, Hawaii and most of Arizona. Daylight savings time starts soon. Could this be the last time the clocks change?
Having your fridge right now, viewers, it's just from the same can of your bottle that I use.
Okay.
It just has some soda in it.
If you've ever been to either state, you can likely guess why in both cases it's the sun. By not moving their clocks ahead in spring, Arizona, with the exception of the Navajo Nation, is able to have slightly earlier sunsets, providing earlier relief on a hot summer day. Hawaii, with its proximity to the equator, gets a relatively consistent amount of sun year-round, making saving daylight pointless. A change in how sunrises and sunsets look, at least on the clock, would be the most notable difference if we stayed on standard time year-round. Let's say you live in Chicago. On Saturday, March 8th, the sun will rise at 6:14 a.m. and set at 5:50 p.m. When daylight savings time returns on Sunday, March 9th, sunrise will be at 7:12 a.m. and sunset will move to 6:50 p.m. Into summer, sunrise will come earlier until about mid-June, while sunsets shift later until late June. As we move from midsummer into late fall, the sun rises later and sets earlier until we change the clocks again in November. Now let's say we did not jump forward an hour on March 8th. Daylight saving. Why these two states don't change their clocks. In Chicago, the earliest summer sunrise would become 4:15 a.m. instead of 5:15 a.m. Why the latest sunset would be 7:30 p.m. instead of 8:30 p.m. The table below shows the earliest sunrises and latest sunsets across multiple U.S. cities, why we observe daylight savings time as well as what these times would be if we did not change our clocks in March. Austin, earliest sunrise / latest sunset in the summer, 6:29 a.m., 8:37 p.m. Earliest sunrise says latest sunset on prominent standard time, 5:29 a.m., 7:30 p.m. Charlotte, North Carolina, earliest sunrise, latest sunset in summer, 6:08 a.m., 8:52 p.m. Earliest sunrise, latest sunset on prominent standard time, 5:08 a.m., 7:42 p.m. Chicago, 5:15 a.m., 8:30 p.m. Earliest sunrise / latest sunset on prominent standard times, 4:15 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Cleveland, Ohio, 5:52 a.m. to 9:04 p.m. Earliest on standard time, on permanent standard time, 4:52 a.m. to 8:04 p.m. Denver, 5:30 a.m. and 8:32 p.m. Earliest on permanent standard time, 4:30 a.m. and 7:32 p.m. Grand Rapids, 6:30 and 9:26 p.m. Earliest on prominent standard time, 5:03 and 8:26 p.m. Green Bay, 5:07 a.m. and 8:41 p.m. Earliest on prominent standard time, 4:07 a.m. and 7:41 p.m. Indianapolis, 6:16 a.m. and 9:17 p.m. would become 5:16 a.m. and 8:17 p.m. Honolulu, Alaska, 4:20 a.m. and 11:43 p.m. would become 3:20 a.m. and 10:43 p.m. Las Vegas, 5:23 a.m. and 8:02 p.m. would become 4:23 a.m. and 7:02 p.m. Los Angeles, 5:41 a.m. and 8:08 p.m. would become 4:41 a.m. and 7:08 p.m. Nashville, 5:29 a.m. and 8:08 p.m. would become 4:29 a.m. and 7:08 p.m. New Haven, 5:18 a.m. and 8:29 p.m. 4:18 a.m. and 7:29 p.m. New Orleans, 5:59 a.m. and 8:05 p.m. 4:59 a.m. and 7:05 p.m. New York, 5:25 a.m. and 8:31 p.m. 4:24 a.m. and 7:31 p.m. Portland, Oregon, 5:21 a.m. and 9:04 p.m. 4:21 a.m. and 8:04 p.m. Salt Lake City, 5:56 a.m. and 9:03 p.m. 4:56 a.m. and 8:03 p.m. St. Louis, 5:36 a.m. and 8:29 p.m. 4:36 a.m. and 7:29 p.m. Tampa, 6:33 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. 5:33 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. District of Columbia, 5:42 a.m. and 8:39 p.m. 4:42 a.m. and 7:38 p.m. Why such early sunrises may not sound desirable to you, it's likely what your body prefers. Experts say that getting enough sunlight exposure in the morning is crucial for our melatonin system. The extra morning daylight could also give you more time to work out or run errands during the cooler morning hours of a summer day. This was a major deciding factor for Arizona when it opted to walk the clocks. Plus, it may be easier for you and your children to sleep through the morning sunshine than falling asleep while it's still light out. Let's say we observed permanent daylight savings time instead. Our summers would remain the same while winters would look much different. Why experts say keeping standard time is undeniably better for us. We'll go back to Chicago on Saturday, November 1st. The sun will come up at 7:23 a.m. and set at 5:44 p.m. After daylight savings time begins on Saturday, November 2nd, the sun will rise at 6:25 a.m. and set at 4:43 p.m. The sun will rise later until early January, hitting 7:18 a.m. before slowly swinging in the opposite direction. Sunset will hit its earliest time, 4:19 p.m., before also reversing course. If we did not set our clocks back an hour in November, Chicago's latest sunrise would be 8:18 a.m. instead of 7:18 a.m., and its earliest sunset would be 5:19 p.m. instead of 4:19 p.m. The table below shows the latest sunrises and earliest sunsets multiple U.S. cities will experience in fall when daylight savings time ends, and what those times would look like on prominent daylight savings time. Austin, 7:28 to 5:30, 8:28 to 6:30. Charlotte, 7:32 and 5:11, 8:32 and 6:11. Chicago, 7:18 and 4:19, 8:18 and 5:19. Cleveland, 7:53 and 4:57, 8:53 and 5:57. Denver, 7:21 and 4:35, 8:21 and 5:35. Grand Rapids, 8:14 and 5:08, 9:14 and 6:08. Green Bay, 7:29 and 4:12, 8:29 and 5:12. Indianapolis, 8:06 and 5:20, 9:06 and 6:20. Juneau, 10:16 and 3:40, 11:16 and 4:40. Los Angeles, 6:52 and 4:26, 7:52 and 5:26. Las Vegas, 6:59 and 4:43, 7:59 and 5:43. Nashville, 6:58 and 4:32, 7:58 and 5:32. New Haven, 7:18 and 4:22, 8:18 and 5:22. New Orleans, 6:57 and 5 o'clock. 7:57 and 6 o'clock. New York, 7:20 and 4:28. 8:20 and 5:28. Portland, 7:51 and 4:27. 8:51 and 5:27. Salt Lake, 7:52 and 5 o'clock. 8:52 and 6 o'clock. St. Louis, 7:19 and 4:39. 8:19 and 5:39. Tampa, 7:22 and 5:34. 8:22 and 6:34. District of Columbia, 7:27 and 4:46. 8:27 and 5:46. The research and history are stacked against permanent daylight savings time, however. The U.S. tried the practice multiple times in the 1900s, only to quickly transition out of it. Yet most recent federal efforts and many of those proposed by state lawmakers are hoping for permanent daylight savings time. That means for now our clocks will spring forward an hour on March 8th and fall back on November 2nd. Thank you for watching this video and peace out till the next one.